guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'd planned on getting outside and getting some stuff done in the garden and working on getting everything kind of tore out and put to bed. However, this wind is insane today, and I went out trying to feed the animals this morning. I'll put some clips of that here. It was crazy. So I decided to shift a little bit, and I have some things I need to get done in the kitchen, and so I thought I'd bring you along while we did this. Okay, so I need to get some brown sugar going first. I'm completely out in my container. This is super simple. I will leave some measurements down below. To be honest, I don't measure. Measure with my cart. Should put about a tablespoon in there. So you do not have to use a stand mixer or a hand mixer for this process. You could absolutely just use a spoon and a bowl or a whisk, but it does require a lot less elbow grease if you have an appliance to help. But this is so simple. Once it's incorporated, you'll start to see it sort of pulling away from the bowl and sticking together like brown sugar does. I like to stir it just a little bit to make sure there's no clumps of molasses left. But then I just stored it in an airtight container and it's ready to use. Having the skills to create simple pantry staples not only saves us money, but it really creates more opportunity in the kitchen. A few years ago, I would have started the process of making something like these bagels, only to find that I was missing an ingredient. I either had to stop what I was doing and go to the store, or just give up on it completely. In just a few moments here, not only did we restock an item on the shelf, but it saved us time and money doing so with things we already had. Keeping an intentional pantry is something I've worked very hard on the past few years, and is very important to me. It goes beyond the grocery store shelves, though. The skills you have allow you to preserve and stretch your resources much further. In this fast-paced world we live in, a skip trip to the store is always a win. Okay, so now that I have the brown sugar made, I can go ahead and get started on what I was wanting to bake today, and that is some bagels. It calls for just a little bit of brown sugar, but I needed some. And we're going to go ahead and get started on these. And then I'm hoping that while they rest and rise, that maybe we can go ahead and go outside and get some things done in the meantime. So the video cut off, but over here I have my wet ingredients. We did 16 ounces of lukewarm water, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. And then in this bowl, we have our flour and our yeast and a little bit of salt. It was 30 ounces of flour and 14 grams of yeast. And now I'm just gonna mix those slowly together until it forms a dough. We're gonna let that knead for about 6 minutes. While that is finishing up though, I'm gonna go ahead and get this bowl ready. I'm gonna let the dough rest in this one. So we want that to be nice and oiled so it doesn't stick to the sides. And then you're gonna want a towel, and I like to get mine warm and wet and lay it over the bowl while it does its first rise. It just kind of holds in some of the moisture. Okay, so this dough has kneaded for about 6 minutes in the mixer. I'm gonna go ahead and knead it just a little bit by hand. Just because I feel like I have an older version of the KitchenAid and it seems to push dough out. Have a nice ball formed, and we're just going to put it right in there. You can cover it, and we'll set it to the side, and now we can go outside and see if we can survive the wind and get some things done. Okay. Like I said, it's a little windy today, but there's a few things I need to get done, and I think I can get them done. One of them is I need to bring in the sweet potatoes from the other day because it is kind of been drizzly off and on, and I just need to get those inside. And then I also have some herbs. I need to harvest what's left of them. Not much. This would have actually been a really good day to clean the greenhouse because it's not windy in here. It actually feels really nice. But I did not take the time to do that. So instead, I'm just using it as a place for shelter from the wind. And I wanted to say welcome to the greenhouse. It's an absolute disaster. It really only serves me in early spring. It gets way too hot in here during the summer, but I do sort of use it for storage during those months, and so things kind of pile up at the front door. This is now very much on my list to do. Let's go harvest some herbs. I had a cherry tomato plant right here, and I pulled it out a few months ago. It just wasn't doing very good. But the most beautiful volunteers popped up, and there are precious little cherry tomatoes. Unfortunately, I don't believe they're going to make it, but that is okay. I enjoy seeing little volunteers. Looks like there's some more tomatoes I can grab too. So I do need to go ahead and get these sweet potatoes in the house. They haven't really dried out as long as I want them to. I may put them in the shop, but it has kind of been drizzling off and on out here, and it's supposed to freeze tomorrow night, so I don't want to leave them laying out here in the dirt. And this will at least get them out of the weather. That's kind of buggy. Actually, it looks like maybe something come and nibbled on a few of them since we pulled them out of the ground. That's okay. Maybe I can cut it off. I did not come out here prepared to harvest tomatoes, so this old planter bucket that I would just throw in the trench will do. I think some of these may ripen if I take them in. These are my San Marzanos. Towards the end of the season, like the ones that I get off are not very big. These were absolutely beautiful. Look at this guy. It's a pretty nice pepper. And here you get to meet the real culprits to why this garden looks so rough at this point in the season. It's because we have been having pen problems. These two younger goats somehow just can't stay in a pen. And after the garden was kind of finishing up, we decided just to let them free range for a little bit. We really need to work on getting the goat pen fixed up because this will absolutely not do in spring. But for right now, I've just been letting them enjoy the leftovers and forage a little bit. But I do think that these pepper plants could have produced a little bit longer if it wouldn't have been for these guys. If you don't know what mullein is, it is just an herb that grows and it's very almost like lamb's ear. But when you dry it and use it as a tea, it is really good for like respiratory health. So we like to have some on hand for the winter months. Oh look. Just a raw pepper in there too. Definitely holds on to bugs, so I'm trying to keep those guys from coming to my house. Look, the spiders living there. I did not plant this mullein this year, guys. This was actually the last bed that we installed for the 2025 garden, and we used some dirt from a creek to help fill up our beds, and there just so happened to be lots of lovely mullein seed in it that we did not know. So this was just a beautiful gift that came along with the dirt. This bed honestly didn't do too great this year, but this mullein kept popping up, so I decided just to let it be. Mullein is something that we typically forage for. We have access to some land where it grows very plentiful, which is where we got the dirt from, and it's just really nice to see it start popping up around on our property. Even before this year, since we started harvesting mullein and mullein seeds, we've had Randall mullein plants pop up. mullein will not go to seed until the second year, so this first year you can harvest these young leaves. Next year, these same plants should go to seed, and so I'm hoping that they come back, but I do need to do lots of amending to this garden bed so that it can do better next year. However, if the bed is just full of mullein forever, I would be more than happy to just designate an entire bed to mullein. I'll harvest some of this thyme here. To be honest with you, I think these pieces. Cinnamon there too. Okay, so I think that's everything I have to get done out here. And we're gonna head back in and check on our bread. Okay, so we're back in the kitchen. I came to check on our bagels, and I do believe that our dough is ready. Don't toss your towel, we're still gonna need it. But the dough has more than doubled, so we are going to lay it out and roll them out so they look like bagels. Okay, so I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is weigh the dough. 48, so I want it to be close to 24 when I cut it in half. Whoa. Right there. Okay. I'm going to try to get them as close to 3 ounces as possible. Okay, so while these set for 30 minutes, we are going to preheat our oven to 425. And then I also have a pot of water going here. We are going to add a little bit of salt and some maple syrup to it. You can also use honey. You could use some sugar. And then making sure that you drain as much water off as possible before placing on that parchment-lined baking sheet that we have set aside ready to go. Once I get them all done, I like to add a little bit of an egg wash to the top. It really helps with that sheen to the top of them. And if you're adding toppings, it'll help that stick a little bit, especially dry toppings such as everything but the bagel seasoning or sesame seeds. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of shredded cheese today. We're just using these for sandwiches, and that's what my kids prefer, but you can add almost anything to the top of bagels. These baked up beautifully and they tasted delicious. I'm so happy that I decided to make them. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today while we soaked up some of the final moments of the 2025 garden. I'm excited to give this space some well-deserved rest and pour some love back into parts of our home that have been patiently waiting during the growing season. The quieter season is my favorite time to dream big, plan ahead, and get ready for what's next. If you'd like to come along for all of it, please consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next one.